Hey YouTube, it's the Pied Piper.
Are you listening?
Shut up and sit down.
It's the Pied Piper.
It's my channel and I'm the other one.
Hey YouTube, it's the Pied Piper. Listen to
This YouTube thing, this YouTube situation. Hey YouTube, sorry if my voice is weird today. I unfortunately have been sick, which is why I didn't post it all last week. And the video I'm posting this week, one of them's new and one of them is one I filmed a while back. So as you'll see, it'll be a little bit different. And then I have a couple other videos coming up too, as well as the literature review I was talking to you guys about that I was going to be doing, but I've been sick. So if I sound like congested or nasally, that's why. I'm sure if you read the title of this video, you're probably like, oh my gosh, what is she gonna say next? Or if you're one of the millions of people who probably don't even know my channel exists, but you're watching this video only because it has a controversial title, I would just implore you to please watch before writing a comment or disliking. Just hear me out. And then if you choose to dislike it or click off of it, whatever. You'll notice by the disclaimer that I put at the very start of the video that there is some stuff going on. Well, it's not really a disclaimer as far as like what's going on, but you'll notice that it specifically speaks to watching bad things happen and not saying anything about it. I've said before that my channel is not a social justice situation. I'm not anywhere near the SJW. That's just not my thing. However, sometimes I see stuff and I feel like if I don't say anything, then it feels like I'm just letting this sort of mentality go. And obviously I'm not going to change anybody's mind with this video or any of my videos, but I figure I should probably do something to state at least my case or what I saw. And if you agree with me, put down in the comments what you agree with. If you disagree, then we can politely do that too and have some back and forth, have some good, intelligent dialogue. This video is going to be a little bit more serious than I normally post. You've been warned. If you're looking for funny haha, then watch the video that I either am going to put up before this one or after this one, or watch any of the other commentary things I do on different shows. So let's get into this. Before I even go like deep into my opinion, I want to say, obviously my channel, I've always said it's about tolerance, it's about acceptance, it's about multicultural things, and you know, it's all very much my desire to be the change that I want to see in the world. And I want to see racism eradicated. I want to see people being judged solely based off the color of their skin eradicated. I want the color of your skin to be nothing more than a descriptive thing when somebody's asking, hey, what does that person look like? And it should be no deeper. However, we live in a world that people are judged, and unfortunately it doesn't matter what I think the world should be. The utopia I think the world should be, unfortunately, does not exist. Sorry if I look busted. It's been a long day, it's like midnight, but I wanted to get this out. I'm waiting for my NyQuil to kick in, so if I get a little loopy, that's why. Something just unnerved me that I saw recently. And if you watched my blackfishing videos, which I will leave a little thing up there so you can go watch it if you haven't, or the Not Black Enough video, and again, you'll see it up there, or any of my 11's World, or what used to be It's a Swirl World, that show, that channel, is you kind of know what my whole shtick is. You know exactly what I rep hard for. And I'll be honest, when I am all for and very much for Black women, and not just Black women, but women of color, especially women who are considered undesirable, whether they be any race, I'm still going to go very hard for the underdog, because that's me. I just kind of root for the underdog, and given my life story, I think I'm more so apt to root for the underdog. So women in general, I always have believed should be like sticking together, you know, because no matter what our ethnicity, I think we all sort of kind of get the short end of the stick a lot, and in history, a lot. Women have been given the short end of the stick. And when you couple being a woman with being a woman who is a minority, it's a double whammy. I think that women should be uplifting each other and not hating on each other, and that's just who I am as an individual. I'm sorry if I'm using my hands a lot. I talk with my hands. So I watched this video and I heard something and then read comments about something that I just was floored and saddened by. But what gets me is that while I support that stuff, and I absolutely think that it is great whenever people support, Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. I actually rep hard for that. But I always hesitated in calling myself pro-Black. And I know you're going to be like, what? You're chocolatey smooth? It's not that. It's that a lot of the people and a lot of YouTubers that I have been seeing, and this is not everyone, I have watched several YouTube videos, I have explored several YouTube channels and several videos, like hundreds and hundreds. If you guys could see my watch time on YouTube, it's ridiculous. But I have seen something that has been saddening me for a while now, and I have tackled it a little bit on Love and Swirl, which is my show's channel, and I've tackled it in some respects on this channel, but this video is going to fully address this issue. So I saw on a couple videos, I watch the true crime stuff all the time, and there are some people who are in the true crime, I guess, YouTube world I love, and then there's others that I'm like, I could take or leave them. It just depends. There was one talking about this woman, Tamala Horsford, I believe her name is, and I'm not going to give too many details because one, I'm not very familiar with the case. Two, I haven't researched it myself. I know what I've heard, but I like to see things before I make any sort of ruling in my own head, and so I don't want to give it to you and half-ass it, so I'm not going to give it. But it's a Black woman who died suspiciously in this setting with, pretty much all white people in a town that's very known for its racism. And so there's a little bit of speculation about that. And I feel like that case did not get enough publicity. And one of the videos that I'm going to be doing in the next few days, or probably in the next week, that you're going to see, and I'm not a true crime channel, but I'm going to talk about the murder of my nephew. That's because I have searched true crime YouTubers, channels, and everything. And it's so sad that people of color, people who are minorities, Black people, don't get that same attention when something happens. And when my 2-year-old nephew was murdered, nobody's mentioned it. And the person who murdered him is getting retried, and I'm just devastated. And I was going to hand this off to one of the true crime channels, and there's one YouTuber though, two true crime YouTubers that I would trust to tell an accurate story about what happened to my nephew, but I'm going to do it not because I'm trying to poach the true crime world. I don't have any experience on that, nor do I have a desire to turn my channel into that. It needs to be told, but that's not going to be today. However, this situation came when I was watching one of there are a ton of pro-Black YouTube, and some of them speak very intelligently. I actually ran across a YouTube channel by this one guy. He's so articulate, and he articulates his points very well, and it's not in a hateful or dismissive manner, and it's a very intelligent conversation. I would put his information, but I totally forgot it, so my bad. I will have to go find it, but he speaks well about it. And there are a few women who are actually into I guess they're the pro-Black side of YouTube. Since I don't live in that world on YouTube, I don't really know everybody, but there are certain people's videos that I watch from time to time, and I see them and I'm thinking, man, they're so intelligent. And they're unfortunately not the majority. The majority are the people who are pro-Black to the point that they are just racist. And people always say there's no such thing as reverse racism, and to that I call bullshit. There actually is. Black people, Asian people, Mexican people, Indian people, anybody can be racist. And people have gotten confused the term racism and the term oppression. Those two words are commonly misused. I have seen several pro-Black YouTubers channels, and they say that reverse racism is impossible because Black people cannot oppress white people. But racism doesn't mean oppression. That's not the definition of racism. So I'm going to have to say that you need to look that up, and I will insert the definition for racism. Nowhere in that does it say oppression. It is specifically thinking yourself superior over those who are a different ethnicity than you. So yes, anybody can be racist. Whether you're the majority or the minority, you can be racist. That's my opinion. You're not going to change my mind if you don't like it. Exit stage left, please. However, I watched one of these people who I see has a very big following on YouTube. I actually like a lot of the points she makes, and I so agree with so many of her points that it was so devastating to me when I heard what she said. And I know you're going to be like, what'd she say? And I wrote it down. I'm not going to give her credit by telling you what her channel is. If you know a little bit of what I'm talking about, you'll probably figure it out because she has quite the following. And she's, again, remember in the blackfishing video how I talked about the squeaky wheel camp and then the non-squeaky wheel? Okay, she's part of the squeaky wheel camp, and so she gets the most grease or the most views, the most input, because she's in that squeaky wheel area. And I'm just going to say this before I even get into what was said: two wrongs doesn't make a right. So me, as somebody who is a minority, who is a couple of different minorities mixed together, and I've experienced being oppressed, experienced being judged by people because of my skin color, who has experienced it through the eyes of other people, who has also experienced sometimes some of the privileges for certain things that maybe other people of, my coloring wouldn't get. So I see both sides of it. And I definitely can speak to this because these things exist. I wish that we lived in a utopia where racism was gone and you were just judged on your character and the content of your character and your moral fibers, and you just had people looked at you for who you were and not what you look like. But that's not the world we live in. So I am not blind to racism or the effects it still has on America, on women, on Black women, on darker skinned women, on minorities. I understand it. And so unfortunately, that's not the first thing I ever jump to when something happens. I try very hard not to look at things through this could be racist lens. I think that's like a little bit of victim mentality when you're constantly thinking everything that happens to you or blaming everything that happens to you based on the color of your skin. So, because I just don't think that's the issue. I used to always say to people, if the color of my skin was my only problem in life, I would have a decent life. If that was my only thing, that was the only issue, and it's just not. And that's not real for a lot of people. And sometimes I think people use that card because they don't want to take ownership for the things that they are doing or not doing to better their lives. Again, it's my 10 cents, not 2, because my 2 cents was free. And like I said, I support Black-owned businesses. I support minority-owned businesses specifically. And like I said, when I see a darker-skinned girl, whether she be Black, Asian, Mexican, Indian, Puerto Rican, I don't care. The moment I see a woman who I know is probably the underdog in her ethnicity, in her weight class, in her whatever, I secretly am like rooting for her. And I look at them and I'm like, I want you to get everything you deserve, and I really hope you're a decent person because you really deserve good things. However, I am not delusional enough to support somebody if they're a crappy person. And I don't think anybody's good or bad based on their skin tone or their ethnicity. That is totally dependent upon that person's character. These squeaky wheelers, a lot of the time, they read racism into every situation. Literally, something could be super innocent and they just go right to the racist thing. They immediately are like, oh, that's racist, or they're trying to oppress us. And I'm like, I don't think it's that deep all the time. Some people do just do things and have no idea why they did it or what was going on, and it wasn't malicious, but sometimes they take it that way because it's like they really enjoy being in that role of everybody's trying to oppress me. And I just don't think that's how it is. But are some people trying to oppress them and me? Yes. Is everybody? No, probably not. More than times than not, they probably don't care. So I support Black-owned businesses. When I saw that movie, Princess and the Frog, I was like, yes, oh, Princess Tiana, speak for the darker-skinned women. I was just watching tonight Nima Tang's video about the Fenty bronzers, and I think she's beautiful. And the funny thing is I don't think she's beautiful because she's dark-skinned. I just think she's beautiful. And I don't care what her skin color looks like. It just so happens that one of the attributes that she has that is beautiful is her dark brown skin. But it is not why she's beautiful. She's just beautiful to me. She is a gorgeous girl. I'm reading off of here again, like I said, because I wrote down exactly what this YouTuber said. And I will give you some story on it. I don't recall exactly why she chose this time to address this situation. And she said, like I said, a lot of good points about everything. Like, she really had a lot of decent points. But her last point negated every positive thing she said. And here's why. She reported on a story about a young Caucasian girl who was out with her friends at a bar or something. And again, I didn't research the story, so I'm only going off of what this girl reported, and that's it. And so excuse me if I'm ignorant about exactly the ins and outs of the case, but I'm not so much disappointed with the case reporting as I am with the response to the case. So this Caucasian girl, she was out with her friends. She's a young girl. She's drinking, I think, or something at a bar, and all of her friends are standing outside, and she calls for an Uber. And so a car pulls up, and she just gets in it and is like, oh, that's my Uber, guys, I gotta go. And her friends let her go and everything. And then you do see surveillance video of the bar and exactly when it happened, and you see that the car didn't have an Uber light or anything in it. If you Uber or Lyft, you know that there's a light thing in there, or sometimes there's just a sticker on there. And then they also give you a picture of the driver as well as their license plate so that you can do some investigating before you just hop in any car. Granted, the person in the car should be at least have enough scruples to say, hey, I'm not an Uber, when somebody random just gets in their back seat. But I guess this person had nefarious intentions from the jump, so this is probably going to happen no matter who got in that car. They were kind of looking for this, in my opinion. And so this girl gets in this car, and then a day later, the girl is found dead in the woods or something. And there's a lot, her family and everybody has been speaking speaking out about this, and the YouTuber who's a pro-black YouTuber, she reported on it very kind of, unbiased, and she definitely gave a lot of good advice about not getting into cars, especially as a woman, just climb into a car without checking to make sure this is your Uber and all of these other things to keep yourself safe. She said great things about it, so I can't even knock her for what she said. It's what she last said that negated all the good stuff. So she talks about that. The gentleman who they believe to be the person who killed her is a black man. And then the family of the girl has a GoFundMe. And you'll understand why I mentioned the Tamala Horsford stuff in the beginning with this. Tamala Horsford's family also has a GoFundMe page. And Tamala Horsford was a mother of I believe 6 kids. She's a black woman living in a very historically racist town. And so this death under suspicious circumstances came up. A lot of people have been reporting about it. I've seen some true crime YouTubers, especially the ones that I like, have reported on it and have been just as outraged. I don't think it has anything to do with the color of her skin. It's just the fact that this happened and this case was treated so poorly. But then this girl who's Caucasian, gets into this Uber, what she believes to be an Uber, and she's murdered. The black driver of the vehicle who picked her up or let her get in is, I guess, allegedly being held or being charged, I'm not sure, for her murder. That's sad. It's sad. Anybody losing their life is sad. To me, it's just horrific. A family losing a daughter, a sister, friend, anything. It's just a horrible thing that happened. And I feel devastated for that family. That's what the story was that this pro-black YouTuber spoke on. And like I said, she was very intelligent. She reported on it, very nicely. And now this goes back around to my idea of that I do support black-owned businesses. And Jordan Peele, when he was saying hey, I'm not going to hire, cast any major roles for white people because I don't think it came from a racist place. He's half white. Not to say he couldn't be racist being half white, but I don't think that's where it came from. I think it came from a place that he's wanting to see some representation. He's the one that did that movie Get Out, and so he's wanting to see representation, and he knows that there is just not a market. There are still movies that have black leads, but if you want to have somebody who's seriously your black lead and everything, unfortunately it's kind of you gotta make your own production company and cast black leads because still the market is still very whitewashed, and that's just reality. It is, absolutely is. It's one of the reasons why I do my channel the way that I do it, and I report on things that are multicultural as well as interracial and things like that, is because I'm trying to make it inclusive. I don't want to say that I'm pro-black because of the fact that when I see people, and again, this is not everybody on YouTube, there are some very intelligent and amazing people, but unfortunately they don't have the same following as the people who are the squeaky wheels. And when somebody who's in that squeaky wheel camp says something, and then all their comments are filled with people agreeing with them and then being blatantly and openly racist, I cannot be okay with that. So this video goes up and she has all of her comments are pretty much on the same lines of that's just they agree with her opinion of the situation. I have always been told that I barely have a black card anyway. People are always you only have half of one and you're not very black. And I'm whatever. And I used to fight for that. It used to hurt my feelings to the core to have people dismiss me. And now I'm saying if being pro-black means I have to exercise blind loyalty, blind hatred, and I have to be callous and cruel and blind to suffering, if it's not directly tied to me, then yeah, you can have my black card. Take the whole thing. I don't need half of one. I don't need a piece of a black card. Take the whole thing. Because I'm not going to support people who only support people who look like them and can't even piece together something decent to say when someone loses a loved one. And now I will tell you what this YouTuber stated in their video. After she made all these really good points and said this really amazing stuff, she stated not going to be sharing a hashtag or justice for whatever this girl's name is. She would not be promoting it. She would not be sharing this girl's GoFundMe. She would not be promoting it. She would also not be praying for this family and this girl who was murdered. And she said that that's up to white people to do and fight for because this is not her fight. She said, okay, her exact words were verbatim, I'm not sending out a prayer. I'm not sending out anything to her family because our people are killed all the time and a lot of non-white people are desensitized to it. So black people should not basically grieve for this person because they don't grieve for you. That was the worst thing I ever heard. I mean, like, I've heard some pretty callous and cruel things. I have a YouTube channel, and if you have a YouTube channel, you know, people come out of the woodworks for you. They come for your throat. But she wouldn't even extend a prayer to this family. They lost a child. And I'm sorry if you believe that people are not grieving for the Black men and children and women who are murdered and raped and molested. Just any of that stuff, I think it's horrible. There are some white people who don't take that as seriously. There are some government officials who don't take that seriously. They don't investigate the cases thoroughly. Again, the Tamala Horsford thing is devastating because she is a Black woman, got no attention. Whereas, yes, this white teenage girl, or I guess young adult girl, did get attention. And they did have him arrested within record time for the murder of this girl. But they also had a lot of evidence to lead them to him. It was not like they had like no leads. He wasn't a needle in a haystack. It was very able. They had CCTV or, you know, like a video camera or whatever footage. Like, they knew where he was, so it's a lot different. And I don't know for sure if there wasn't racism behind how they quickly jumped on this case, or if there was. I don't know. But what I can say as a human being, as a decent human being, I would never think to deny someone prayer for their family and say, well, until you care about Black people, I don't care about your people. Wow, that's rough. I don't think that was the message that Martin Luther King was trying to get out there when he was fighting for civil rights. He didn't want it to be that, oh, only Black people will be, the only way Black people will be cool with anybody is if you're cool with them. Like, that's not the way the world works. There are people who don't like me, and it has nothing to do with the color of my skin. They just don't like me. I'm not going to wish death on them, and I definitely am not going to deny, at the very least, prayer if something happens to them, you know. And so it was just cruel. And not only were her words like cruel and unusual, but people in the comments were like, yeah, because the white people don't say anything. And like, there are white people who are devastated at things like the Trayvon Martin situation. There are white people who are devastated over the Tamala Horsford stuff. There are white people who feel that way. So to attack like this because you don't feel like it's enough representation, to me, is not how you eradicate racism. If anything, that's how you keep perpetrating it. It's how you keep all eyes on you in a very racist sort of way, you know? And so it was devastating. I watched this video on April 2nd. The video, I guess, was posted on March 31st. And that girl's video had, at that time, 25,805 views and 1.6 thousand likes and 71 dislikes. And she said that, you know, white people were online posting very racist things, and I guess there was a situation where a white man ended up killing a lot of Black people in a church setting, and the police took him out for Burger King. And she was like, well, did the murderer in this situation, the Black man who murdered this girl, did he get taken out for Burger King? And I'm just like, that isn't okay that the kid was taken out for Burger King after he murdered several people, but it would still be not okay if it happened for the Black guy. Or, you know, like, it's not like those two things should be okay on any level. Black, white, whatever. If there was racism involved, it's even worse. But those things aren't cool. And he shouldn't be treated the same way. Like, he killed someone in cold blood for no reason and knew he wasn't an Uber when he picked her up. So I can only believe that his intention was to do harm on some level. So I don't understand why you want to be excited or be happy or feel anything good about this man. He was not a good person. And I'm not going to think he was a good person just because he was Black. And I'm not going to stand by him because he was Black. And I'm not going to stand by anyone just because they're Black. And I'm not going to hate anyone just because they're white. And I'm not going to perpetuate that and keep it going. I'm just not. There are Black people who are horrible individuals. There are white people who are horrible individuals. There are Mexicans, horrible. Asians, horrible. Indians, horrible. But just as many that are horrible, there are also good people who are Black, good people who are white, good people who are Mexican, good people who are Puerto Rican, good people who are Asian. You can't paint everybody with the same brush. And so they said that, you know, when they watched the videos, I guess some white people had reported on this same case. And what she said is that she watched the videos that some people did, and that in the comment section, a lot of other white people were getting really racist and saying things like, oh, he should be lynched and yada, 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 which I think is horrible. And I know that's true because I watched some Tucker Carlson thing about Jussie Smollett or something like that. And I looked at the comments underneath there, and the racists were out in full force. They were dragging Jussie Smollett and then dragging all black people and lumping everybody in under one thing, and it was devastating to see. Like, it was that little thing that let the racists come through. And I don't even want to jump into that because that's another thing that I have very strong views on, and it would make this video like 26 hours, so we're gonna ignore it. But she had a good point. She said that this girl, whose name I guess is Samantha, that at this time, the time of her recording, this girl Samantha, who was the Caucasian girl who was murdered, her GoFundMe had $46,188, and Tamala Horsford's GoFundMe, which has been up for 4 months, had only $6,660 raised, and I think that's ridiculous. But I don't blame that on white people in general. I think that Tamala Horsford deserves a lot more. I think in 4 months, she didn't have more is sad. And do I think that some of it is racially motivated? Probably. But again, I can't blame all white people for that. I can't say that because this is what is happening to this woman that it deserves to be just as horrible for another person. So I think that's all that I wrote. And that's all I'm really going to say about it. Like I said, it would be ridiculous for me to pretend that racism is not. I wish it wasn't. I wish that people were judging other people solely based on the content of their character. I think that it's sad that in 2019 we still have a lot of racially motivated crimes. We have the police get away with it all the time, and I totally believe in that. But if I have to be a cruel human being in order to be pro-black, then take my black card, because I can't be okay with condemning or vilifying this hurting family who has lost someone in a very tragic, devastating way because black people don't get the same attention. Does it suck? Yeah. There are millions and millions of black girls who go missing, who are murdered, and like nothing is done about it, but it's not the fault of all white people or anybody else. Like, there definitely should be stuff done to balance that playing field, and I am all for it, and I will rep that, and I will make sure that that message gets out there. But I can't be okay with saying I'm just not even going to pray for this girl or her family or spread their hashtag or pay any money, offer their GoFundMe, or even support their GoFundMe, and they don't grieve for us, so I'm not going to grieve for them. That's like the equivalent of being a kindergartner and being like, I'm taking my ball and going home because you were mean to me. You can't do that. Like, you're not any better. So right now we have basically racial inequality. We have it. I said it. That's what it is. It happens. Unfortunately, it's still happening. The way to balance that out isn't to become the oppressor or become the villain. Like, okay, so we have white, black. This is not balance. If we just make black the villain and then white, it's not the same. All people, all life is precious. Not to quote Morgan from The Walking Dead, but yes, all life is precious. So you can't be dismissive when something horrible happens. And this man, this black man who murdered this girl in the prime of her life, should not be let off the hook or supported by the black community because white people don't need to support black people. Even if that was true and all white people just didn't like black people, I feel like that doesn't mean you have to sink to their level. So that's it. I know this video is kind of like a rant, and I hate rants. I hate being a ranty. I am not a social justice warrior. I am not familiar with either one of the cases, whether it be the Tamala Horsford or this young girl named Samantha who was murdered. Both of them are equally sad. Both of them are equally devastating. Are they being treated equally? Not at all. And that should change. That should absolutely change. I am gonna rep hard. That's why I mentioned Tamala Horsford's whole name, because her story should be heard. But it's not the fault of this girl who's just living her young life at a bar, with her friends. I'm sure she was not thinking that that was the last day of her life. And I don't think that her family deserves to be brushed off because the world brushes off other people. That's not how you affect change. It's to just do exactly what they do or become the villain. And you might not agree with me. You might say, Piper, you're crazy. And you will thumbs down this video and you will say that I didn't sound like I knew what I was talking about or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, two wrongs don't make a right. You shouldn't let what people do change you. So if you're not a cruel individual, you shouldn't become cruel because these other people here were cruel. And you could be like, I can't believe you. You're giving away your black card? But yeah, I'm not going to blindly follow someone, and I'm not going to blindly show loyalty to people based off the color of their skin, and I'm not going to blindly vilify people based on the color of their skin. So black card can be gone, and that's fine. But I choose to believe that all lives are precious and all people are precious. Do we live in the utopia that I want? No, but we're never going to get there if I start to take on the mentality of the people who have been vicious and cruel. Like, subscribe, comment, share.
Share any way you can.
Smoke signal, Morse code,
carrier pigeon, telegraph,
2 cans of string.
beeper, pager, there's another pager, snail mail. Tell somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that, hey, Piper has a new video.
Shut up and sit down.